Well, hello, everybody, again, and thank you for joining us for today's professional development webinar, Pandemic Drained Your Batteries, Easy Tips to Recharge Professionally and Personally. My name is Jeff Murphy. I'm a member of the Career Programs team in the Office of Alumni Relations. I'm really glad to have you all with us today. Today's webinar is sponsored by BU Alumni Relations and is offered to our 352,000 alumni around the world, and of course, all of our current students. Throughout your career, BU is committed to helping you define and achieve your professional goals. We aim to do this by providing alumni with access to a series of valuable online tools and social media communities. As mentioned before we got started, we have alumni and students joining us from all over the world in some very far away places. Please know that we really do appreciate your participation in this and every event that we offer. Before I introduce today's speaker, I have just a couple brief housekeeping notes. As you know by now, today's webinar is being hosted on our Zoom online meeting platform. We are recording today's presentation, and it will soon be made available for on-demand viewing on the BU Alumni and Friends website, which you can find at www.bu.edu/alumni. Our speaker today is very eager to answer any questions that you may have, and we're going to ask that you submit them throughout the presentation using the Q&A function. Just like you did with the chat before we got started here, you're going to hover over your screen, click on Q&A, go ahead and type your question in at any time. We're going to make sure that we save plenty of time at the end to get to as many as we can. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker for the day, BU Wheelock College of Education and Human Development alumna, Kim Bilawchuk. Since 2008, Kim has inspired ambitious young professionals and new college grads who are feeling stuck to mindfully create a life and career in alignment with their skills, interests, and values without the struggle of anxiety and overwhelm. Kim guides them through her unique, intuitive process that draws on her backgrounds in corporate human resources, career counseling, yoga, and meditation, and giving her clients the confidence and clarity they need to move forward with calm and ease. Kim holds a bachelor's degree from UMass Amherst, an MBA from another Boston school on Commonwealth Avenue that says they're in Boston, but is actually in Newton, and also has a master's from, as we mentioned, from Boston University. Kim is also a registered yoga teacher. She lives in Lowell, Massachusetts with her amazing husband, her two soccer-playing teenagers, and a mutt named Albert. Kim, you have been, I have the wrong slide up that whole time. Can you believe it? You've been such an amazing volunteer for us and have dedicated your time to the BU community several times in the last few years. I just love working with you. Thank you so much for being here today. The floor is all yours if you want to get your slide deck up and running.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you, Jeff. I am so excited to be here. It's always fun to reconnect with alumni. It's been a number of years since I've been on campus, but it's really fun to be back, at least virtually, this way. So without further ado, I'm going to ask how you're feeling today. So Jeff, if you can run this poll for me. I took this from a client that I met with recently, and I asked, how are you doing today? I always start my client sessions like that. And she said, well, I'm great. Well, I'm pretty good. Actually, I'm just okay. You know what? I'm really not that great today. So one of the things I think we often ask people is, you know, how are you? And it's easy for us to say, yeah, we're great. How are you? And really, we're not. So I want you to be really honest with me here today. How are you feeling? Like, there's a lot going on, and we're going to talk a lot about that today, but show me and tell me how you're feeling. No need to sugarcoat anything today.
Kim, I don't think that you can see those answers as they're coming in. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. We've got just about 2/3 of the audience has weighed in here. We'll give it just another minute. Do you want to make any predictions on where our audience is today?
I'm guessing, let's see, I think if you're in Boston, the weather's great, so you might be pretty good, but if you're anywhere else, I'm thinking people are probably in the meh, just okay category.
Well, you nailed that one. We can you see the results in front of you now?
And yes, thank you. Yeah, so just about in the middle, right? So we've got somebody that's great, which is good, and I don't see anybody that's terrible, which is fantastic too. But we've got sort of a nice distribution here between pretty good and just okay and not great. So I want you to tune into where you're feeling today and how you're feeling today. We're going to talk a little bit about that as we keep going here. So While you're doing this, I usually send out a handout, and I didn't do that today. So if you have a piece of paper and a pen, if you can put away any of your technology and just really give yourself permission to focus here today, let this be for you. I'm giving you permission for this time. So congratulations for making this time, but take just a scrap piece of paper. Well, I'll encourage you to take some notes today and jot down 3 things you're grateful for right this minute. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be, whatever grand house you're living in or whatever. It could just be, I'm here. I've taken this time for me. My favorite shirt was clean today. I had lipstick next to my desk so I could look normal on a Zoom call, whatever it happens to be. So just 3 things. This is a really great thing for you to do. I often start my client sessions like this. I often start my yoga classes like this. Just stop and pause and notice what's going well for you today, because it's easy to get dragged in what's not going well. So focus what is. While you're doing that, I'm going to invite you to take a deep, full belly breath, like really big. No, I can't see you. I don't know who can see you, but just take a really deep, full breath in through your nose if you're able to. Hold it for a minute at the top and then exhale completely. Make whatever sound you want to, just let it all out. And repeat. Gentle pause at the top and let it go. It feels good. Do it one more time. Sometimes the more noise you make, the more you can just exhale, but let go of anything that's not serving you today. This is a trick for your body to let your body know that you're okay. Because if you can take a deep breath, you're likely not being chased by a tiger. There's usually no stress around, although most of us are holding on to that in some way, shape, or form. So continue to breathe as I just introduce myself a little bit. Jeff did this already. I'm a pretty active on the go mom. I have 2 school-age kids. They play on 2 separate soccer teams for 2 different leagues. So I'm always in the car, wife, solopreneur, speaker, teacher, yogi, inspirational career alignment coach. I get a lot of stuff on my plate. Jeff, I think, went through all this, so I'm not going to go through this again, but for those of you that are more visually oriented, I have a regular meditation practice and a lot of degrees that have served me well in my time. So today we're going to talk about why we feel drained. That's kind of what this is about, right? The pandemic has us sort of depleted and worn out and weary, and we're going to talk about why we feel this way. I'm going to talk about the importance of self-care, both at work as well as at home. And then I'm going to give you some tips for you to go off and do that on your own. And of course, I'll leave some time for Q&A. Jeff invited you to add those into the chat. So please do that as you go. I'm happy to answer questions. And as I go, I may defer them if I'm going to touch on that later, but we'll certainly catch up at the end if we haven't answered them. I'm going to do one more quick poll and just get a sense for how people are doing. Are you taking any time for self-care during this pandemic? Yes, I make time for me several times a week. And by me, I mean like really you, not your family, not your work, not anybody else, but really just you. I make time for me at least once or twice a week. And that once or twice a week could be 10 minutes of meditation. It could be 10-minute walk. It doesn't have to be this whole big, half day excursion someplace. Not really. I think about it, but I never seem to have the time or make the time. Or nope, I'm juggling too many other responsibilities, work, family, whatever, to make time for me. So give me your thoughts here and be honest. There's no right or wrong here. I'll be honest with you. I am sort of making time for me. And this is an effort that I've made over the last couple of weeks as my kids are transitioning back to school to make sure that I budget that in. We're going to talk about that change in time and schedule and that kind of stuff in a little bit. Jeff, how are we doing for responses here?
Great. Almost everybody participated. You see the result. Oh, hang on. There you go. You see those results now?
Okay, good. Ooh, good. So I've got almost an even split between yes, I make time for me several times a week and 1 or 2 times a week. So I think that gets us up to, that's not my forte, I'm going to say close to 75% maybe. And then no, not really. And then I've got 1 who's juggling too much responsibility. So maybe preaching to the choir a little bit here, but I'm hoping that I can encourage you to spend more time and really understand the importance of doing that so that you continue to do that. So thank you for running that, Jeff. And we're going to talk a little bit about why we feel drained. And I know this feels like a little bit of a downer, but I feel like we need to start down so that we can rise up, right? So here we are in the middle, we're in a global pandemic. We've been here for 18 plus months. I remember vividly having plans to come to Boston University to do a presentation with Jeff. the day that the world sort of shut down. And we were on the phone a lot that day, Jeff. I'm sure you remember, back and forth, trying to decide if it made sense for me to come into the city or not. But it's been a long, long time. That translates to 550 plus days or 79 plus weeks. It's been a long, long time. In that time, we are experiencing all of these things, right? Unemployment rate was fairly low. It peaked at a high of 14.8% in around March or April of 2020. Some of you may have been hit by that, depending on the industries that you work in. Hardest hit: travel, hospitality, restaurants, retail, construction, education. And all of us were impacted by not going someplace. So whether that meant that you took on more responsibility at home, you tried to juggle maybe your school age kids that were home, or preschoolers, there was a lot of responsibility that hit us hard, and changes and ambiguity. A lot of other stuff happened too. So I'm just pulling, these are just some recent events, right? We celebrated or remembered the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Whole bunch of talk about abortion in Texas. A lot of talks about vaccines, who gets them, how, are they effective, how long they work for, should they be required, should they not be required? Lots and lots of discussion around that, right? Regardless of what side of that debate you're on, it's an ever-going discussion. Masks, are we wearing masks? Jeff and I were just talking about that. Should we wear them? How often do we wear them? Where do we wear them? Do we need to wear them? Are kids wearing them? Lots of discussions around that, right? And then, at the beginning of this, or in the middle of this, we had a pretty intense presidential debate election, which flipped some things in our country. And, almost all of us, I would be hard pressed to say that at least all of us have experienced at some point something that got canceled due to some COVID precautions, right? So whether it was a work event, a conference, a celebration of some kind, a wedding, a funeral, a birthday, a travel, vacation, any kind of gathering, simple with, neighbors or close family, to large events, have been canceled. Concerts, all kinds of stuff, right? Traffic has changed. Sort of our lives have been turned upside down in the last 18 months. The news is heavy, right? I've stopped listening to the news. I watch the weather periodically, but I figure if there's something newsworthy, somebody's going to let me know. And we'll talk about that as a self-care tip also. So I want to talk about surge capacity. And when Jeff approached me to come back and speak with you again, he had proposed something around, I think, interviewing or something. And I said, yeah, Jeff, but read this article. And this is actually an article that I referenced when I did a presentation last fall, which was called Slow Down to Get Ahead. I know it's still part of the archives at BU. I would encourage you to go back and listen to that if that's of interest to you. But I referenced this article again, and it's still relevant today. Our surge capacity is a collection of adaptive systems, both mental and physical, that humans draw on for short-term survival in acutely stressful situations, such as a natural disaster. So imagine, but natural disasters occur over a short period, even if the recovery is long. So think a hurricane, right? And I know there's a lot of weather happening in the Gulf Coast right now. It's coming, you can prepare for it. Hopefully it moves out and the damage is limited, but pandemics are different. The disaster that we've suffered here or experienced here stretches out indefinitely. It's like hurricane after hurricane after hurricane after hurricane for 18 months, right? And some could argue we may not be any further ahead now than we were before. So one of the ways to cope with this ambiguity is to build up your resilience bank. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Here's the article. I found on Medium from just about a year ago. And it's Why You Feel Awful. It's a great article, a great read. I would highly recommend it. We're going to talk about some of the ways that you can refill your cup here and really how important self-care is, so you can build back some of these reserves, because we are all depleted, right? We were depleted a year ago and we're even more depleted now. And who knows what's going to happen over the next 6 to 8 months or 12 months. I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between self-care and selfish. Self-care is not selfish. I tried to make this not equal sign a little bit bigger, but it wasn't working for me. That's not my forte. So I'm going to share the definition of selfish first, right? And selfish is somebody that's concerned excessively or exclusively with oneself. seeking or concentrating on one's own advantage, pleasure, or well-being without regard for others. I'm eating the last piece of pizza. I don't care what anybody else thinks, right? Really simple example there. So the difference here, right? And we see a lot of ego here, like this is all about me. I don't care what anybody else is thinking. Whereas the definition for self-care has a lot more positive spin on it. It's a practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own self well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. This self-care, this refilling our own cup, is something that allows us to give back to others. So it's not just about that last piece of pizza, it's about making another pizza so that we can all share it together. Thanks for sharing the link for the article, Jeff. So I just wanted to share some of the impacts of long-term stress, and we're there. We're in long-term crisis mode, right? Increased blood sugar levels, which may lead to diseases like diabetes. Weight loss or gain, right? Some of us lose weight when we're stressed. Some of us put on a lot of weight, right? And I know people have gone both ways during this pandemic. A suppressed immune system. We're in a pandemic. Who wants a suppressed immune system? We need to be as healthy as we can be to get through this in the best way possible. Digestive issues, mostly for the worse, generally not for the better. Heart disease, chronic fatigue, all kinds of mental health issues. I started to sort through some statistics here, and there was just so much, there were so many things on mental health issues. I'm just gonna say there's a lot of it out there. It's way more than it was before. There are tons of studies out there. I would guess that many, if not all of us, are feeling some mental stress, mental health issues, the impact of that over the last year, 18 months or so. Excuse me. So what I'd like you to think about, we often think about self-care as taking care of ourselves first, like putting the oxygen mask on you so that I can, or on yourself so that you can help somebody else, right? So there's that real, like, I'm just surviving here so that I can breathe, literally, so that I can help you breathe. But I'd like you to change the perception around that a little bit and think about a cup overflowing. And the only one I could find here was, I found lots of images of like beer overflowing, popcorn overflowing, but I like these coffee beans. And this might give you a sort of another piece here. But the idea is that if you fill your cup so that it's overflowing, you can share that overflow and you're still full. You're not just giving that bare minimum piece, that you're sharing some of what and depleting what you have. You're able to give that overflow and share that overflow with someone else. So for me, that just shifts the whole perspective. I'm not just taking care of me to take care of you. I'm taking care of me so that I have more to give. Let me know in the chat if that resonates with you. If that's like thumbs up, thumbs down, if that makes sense to you. I'd be curious to see if there's a perception difference for you, as there is for me. But the idea of self-care encourages you to maintain a healthy relationship with yourself so that you can start to transmit those good feelings to others. You can't give something that you don't have for yourself. And it's easy to say it's selfish, but it's really far from that. So I'm giving you a permission slip. This came from, I think when I was in elementary school, we used to have these yellow permission slips. So I recreated this yellow color for you, but I'd like you to give yourself permission. So I give you, fill in your name, permission to select, schedule, and enjoy regular acts of self-care without delay. You deserve it. So if you want to print this out and write your name on it, Jeff is going to share the PDF of this afterwards. Hang it someplace so that you can see this is an important piece of your own mental health and self-care. And you should give yourself full permission to do that. So let's transition here a little bit and talk about the importance of self-care at work. Part of this is slowing down and understanding what's important, what you need to do. There's so much activity in our worlds. And if any of you were part of or listened to my webinar a year ago, and again, I would encourage you to go back and do that. It did lift some of the slides from there. So some of the images may look familiar. But it gives us a time for increased focus and attention. If we can slow ourselves down and take care of ourselves, then that allows us to be better at work. And I'll give you some examples of what that looks like in a little bit. But just being able to take yourself off the treadmill. I'm actually reading this great book right now, and I didn't pull any direct quotes, but it's called Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. And it talks about all of the examples that in history of when people have slowed down and they've been able to focus on something else. If you have your phone going off and the dog barking and the UPS man delivering and all of your email popping up and all of your social media stuff popping up, how are you going to get anything done? We talk about multitasking, but we can't really multitask. That's an anomaly. Like, people can't do that. If you get distracted, it takes something like 23 minutes for you to get back on task. 23 minutes. Who has 23 minutes to do that? So if you can just focus and slow down a little bit on you, then it's going to work. Increased creativity and innovation definitely spikes at work and at home when you have a little bit of time to take care of yourself. If you can remove yourself from a situation, and this happens to me all the time, I walk away from my desk. Sometimes I just run to the bathroom or go get a drink of water and I think, oh, I have an idea. Why didn't I think of that before? You need to have some space so that you can do that. And creativity can include anything. We sometimes think of it as artistic, but it could be working on a project, creating a meal, creating an outfit, designing furniture, a project plan, a bridge, a spreadsheet, a class to teach, writing, planning trips, hosting events, whatever it is, how you design your hair, your outfit that day. It can be any type of creativity, and there's creativity all around us. The creativity in how you schedule your day. When do you plan your workouts? When do you plan your meals? When do you plan time to spend with family and friends or the people that you enjoy being with, right? So think about that piece. It improves your performance. Imagine if the people that were flying this plane weren't paying attention, that they hadn't taken some time for self-care so that they could give back a little bit more, that their cup was so depleted that they just get in this plane and hope everything ends up okay. It's probably not going to. And our relationships are better. When we take care of ourselves, we have more to give other people that we work with. So it could be relationships, and I know our relationships have changed over the last year. We're not necessarily in the same physical space. Maybe we're starting to come back to that physical space together, part-time, all the time, none of the time still, right? But you can still connect and make those relationships. At home, the same thing happens, right? There are literally thousands of studies that show that improved mental health when you're able to take time for yourself. You can ask my kids, my husband, when I stop taking time for myself, they're like, Mommy needs some time away. Let her go for a walk and recharge her batteries. It definitely helps your own mental well-being. Something like 60% or more of doctor visits are related to stress-related illnesses. So if you're able to improve your physical health, then that's going to make you a better person. It's going to allow you to take care of yourself a little bit better and give back. This is a piece that often for me falls off the plate, right? Oh, I have all these other things to do. I don't have time to go for a walk. I walked more than 25 miles last week. Some of it was while I was at practice with, soccer practice with my kids. Some of it was alone, often without a podcast. Sometimes it was just running around my house or the yard with the dog. But that improved physical health has made me feel so much better this week, right? Now I've got a little goal that I've got going to reduce my blood pressure, improve my immune system, increases my resilience to stress, decreases any inflammatory issues, right? Virtually all disease is caused by some sort of inflammation. And you can pick anything from cancer to asthma to arthritis to dementia, it's all related. So if you can start to just move your body a little bit, then your life is going to get better. It doesn't have to be a marathon. Like, this guy's in a great place. I don't have this kind of view from my house in Lowell, but you can definitely get out, and just even 5 minutes a day is helpful. If you can sleep better, fall asleep sooner and stay asleep longer, you're probably going to be a better person, right? Overall, just like this kitty, right? How peaceful does that look? And again, your improved relationships at home, really important. So I'd like to take you, before I dive into some sort of answers here, I would love for you to close your eyes for a moment if that feels comfortable for you, or if you've got your piece of paper and your pen and you want to just jot down some notes. I want you to notice how you're feeling in your body and mind emotionally. Again, I've given you permission to select, schedule, enjoy your own self-care. You are worthy. You need to make this a priority in your life to be a better coworker, employee, friend, spouse, parent, just overall human being. And take a moment to imagine an activity, something that you could do that would help you recharge your batteries. What would bring you peace, joy, calm, and maybe a little bit of balance? Maybe it's something you haven't done for a long time. Maybe it's something that you already have worked into your schedule. Some of you are taking that time already. A lot of you are already taking that time. But imagine how your life would change if you were able to work that in on a regular basis. So maybe not just 1 or 2 times a week, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. Maybe once or twice a day instead of once or twice a week. So I'm going to give you some suggestions, but before I fill your minds with some things, I just wanted you to reflect on some things that you find joy in. If anybody wants to share some of those things as you're writing them, feel free to drop those into the chat. I'll give you another minute or so, 30 seconds to walk through those pieces. Mindfulness is a good one, right? Just slowing down. New activity, gardening with my kiddo. And gardening is one of those great things that reaps great results, right? You have something that's tangible, going for a walk, reading. I love reading. I've set my reading goal last year. I blew out of the water because I had so much more time at home. This year I increased it some more and I'm still reading a lot, which is great. Walking outside is great. Walking outside is one of those great grounding activities to actually feel the earth below you. Makes you feel grounded. Walking with your dog or your husband or your spouse is a great way to do that too. Swimming is really great for you to be able to really like shut off all of the outside world, right? Focus on your breathing, focus on your strokes. Yeah, it's awesome. Creativity took a dive and I'm trying to get it back. DIY projects, crafting. I was part of an accountability group this year, and one of the women in it is a very creative person. So I've got a whole drawer next to me of colored pencils and highlighters and paper and all that kind of stuff. Walking or sitting by large bodies of water. Yeah, there's a lot of studies that have happened that the water, the calming effect of the water is really therapeutic for a lot of us. And I'm one of those. I have a friend that I walk with and she said, I said, let's go to the beach. And she said, do you need the beach or do you need the friendship? And I said, probably both, but I'm going to lean a little more toward the water. So yeah, thanks everybody for sharing those. And I encourage you to continue to think about those. If you can't get to a large body of water, how can you replicate that, right? Is there a way that you can do that online somehow, or just schedule that in on a fairly regular basis, even if it's once a month to get to the ocean if you're, not all of us are living on the East Coast of the United States here. So I'm going to transition and talk a little bit about tips for self-care. And I'm going to share this slide first. Any of you familiar with Stephen Covey and his big rocks and making priorities? I don't know exactly what book this comes from. It might be First Things First. It could be something else. I can get a link for you if you're interested. But this first piece here is a jar that highlights if you put the little things in first, right? And then you put the smaller next important things in next. It's really hard to fit those big rocks in. So if you put the big rocks in first, the things that are most important to you into this jar, then you can start to put the smaller rocks and then the sand sort of filters around and then you can even add water in afterwards. So a lot of us spend our time on all these little things at the bottom here that aren't really on the left here that aren't really very valuable. So that could be things like spending time on social media, or spending time, wasting time doing something that's not really going to have a big impact. So I'm going to encourage you to think about what your big rocks are. And I've broken these into 4 major categories, and there are others and spin-offs of these, but for purposes of this exercise, I want you to have your big rocks could be career, your health, your relationships, and your environment. Those are kind of the big pieces, right? Those are the big pieces of our lives. You could spin off things like spirituality or, specific relationships, romantic relationships, specific, exercise. I'll probably tuck into the health piece. So if you've got your piece of paper, you might want to jot those down and then just start to think about what your big rocks are. And if there are other pieces here that are important to you, then by all means, add those in. When we talk about self-care here, I want you to think about making a priority. Schedule it 10 or 30 minutes a day, 2 or 3 times a week, once a month. Set your boundaries. Know that this is your time and protect it and let people know, right? Get an accountability buddy, a coworker, family, friends. and track it. I have this, it's gonna crash here. I have a list here. This is my accountability piece, right? I know you can't see it, that's okay. But it's a grid of my habits, the things that I want to be able to do on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So some of it for me is meditation. I also include my exercise. How many vegetables am I eating? I always drink a lot of water, so that's okay. Do I have time to read? Am I making time for gratitude? Am I getting to bed at a reasonable hour? So I'm starting to see, we're almost halfway through September, the things that I'm falling apart on, the things that I'm doing well, to be able to do that. So before I jump into some specific pieces, I just wanted to mention a self-care accountability group that I am starting next week. It's a weekly 30-minute call to keep your self-care front of mind. It's a call. It's not going to be a Zoom call. I want people to physically get up and move away from their desks and their workspaces. I'm going to set the day and time based on the participation in the group. I have a few people in already, and if something you're interested in, send me a quick message at kim@kimbilawchuk.com, and I'm happy to give you some more details about it. But I feel like this is not a career related thing. This is something that I feel like we collectively need, something that I need to help stay on track. And I would love to have you join me. So if that resonates with you, I'm more than happy to share that with you a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about just this time of year, right? We're seeing lots of pumpkins. I picked apples instead, but this change creates an opportunity. We've got a change of seasons here in New England. The weather's starting to get a little bit cooler. The days are a little bit drier. They're definitely shorter. There are a lot of religions who celebrate their New Year's in the fall. We have the back to school piece. So whether you have kids or don't have kids that are going back to school, we can sort of feel that shift in end of vacation and sort of back to routine and back to regularity. And this time of new routine is exactly the perfect time for you to start to implement some of these habits. Great book I would recommend by James Clear called Atomic Habits, talks about stacking habits into things that you already do. So if you're already, getting up and brushing your teeth and taking a shower, could you add something into that, like a meditation or 10 minutes to just sit quietly? But I encourage you, before you get into the new routine, to start to work some of these pieces in. I just joined a gym. I went for the first time yesterday, feeling okay today. But I know if I don't do it now and put that big rock into my jar, so to speak, that I'm not gonna make time for it as time continues to go on. So I've broken these into those 4 categories here, our big rocks here. So in terms of career, some things that you can do for self-care: modify your work environment. It could be home or office. Maybe it's a new, maybe it's just cleaning your desk. I think I said that. Connecting or reconnecting with coworkers. Setting specific start or end times for your day. We're way more connected than we ever have been. So it's easy to just always be on, right? Can you set some boundaries that you're never on before 8:30 in the morning? Can you set boundaries that you're never on after 5 o'clock at night? What happens? Do we get caught in something that we need to be online and people are expecting us to be online at 8:30? I have really clear boundaries. I shut down usually by, this may sound early, 2:30. I go pick up my kids. I'm on the soccer field. My clients know that I'm available, but I'm not really like at my desk ready to help them that early in the afternoon. I'm always offline on the weekends. Jeff sent me a thing. I hope you're not working on this on the weekend. Nope, don't worry about it. I'm not doing weekends. So see what you can do to start to schedule that time in, and then does that give you time to take a walk or do something for you? Can you take lunch away from your desk? So easy to stay connected. Check your news feed, check your social media feed, get out, go for a walk, get away from your desk. I had a client that worked for a company that they were not allowed to have food at their desk. They physically had to move. Again, unplug after hours or weekends. Schedule some time off, an afternoon, a day, a week, more. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. Sometimes it's just that little tiny piece that you can get out and get away from your desk is going to help recharge your batteries. Evaluate extra activities that you're doing, extra obligations or committees or task forces or things that you need to sit on. Is there a way that you can reduce your amount of time on there so that you're not spending so much time? Think about the things that you get caught in, like, yes, 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 I could do that. No is a complete sentence. I like to add no, thank you. But no is a complete sentence. You don't have to describe why you're not happy, why you're not part of that. I'm out, right? Maybe you're exploring new opportunities, doing some informational interviewing, learning about some new jobs. Take a class, right? It could be online, it could be a free class. There are lots of ways to think about that. But think about your career. How can you make it a little bit better? How can you recharge your batteries there? Anything resonate here with anybody? Anybody have anything they want to add to the career piece of this before I transition on? All right, I'm going to keep moving here. So I included both physical and mental health here into the health category. And no surprise, I've already said this: move, walk, run, bike, yoga, swim, sing, dance. I was putting sing in here. Do you move when you sing? I move when I sing because I usually dance when I sing. Or I'm singing in the car, right? It could be just sort of dancing in place, but move your body, right? Starts to shift your energy and allow you to regroup here. Create something: play, paint, a meal, wardrobe, doodle, anything that, anything that can help you, again, sort of shift that energy and think of something different. Read something mindless or a topic of interest. And I alternate back and forth, right? I read some nonfiction, I read some, sort of mind candy types of books, but some of those just help me escape and help me recharge my batteries. It doesn't have to be solving the next problem. I'm a huge fan of jigsaw puzzles. And if you're following me on social media, I have a post this week around doing a jigsaw puzzle. I just did one of the hardest ones that I have ever done, 1,000 pieces. My 15-year-old daughter usually helps me. This time she was like, "Mom, you're on your own. This is too hard." But I get really into that, and it's really a mindless kind of thing for me. Meditation is a great thing. It doesn't have to be sitting still. You can do a walking meditation. You could do a swimming meditation. You could do a cooking meditation if you're doing something repetitive, chopping vegetables, stirring batter, that kind of stuff. Plan and shop for healthy meals. Take care of your physical body or have them delivered. I can't believe how many options there are for, whether you have something come in and you create it at home or you have it delivered already to reheat or go. There's lots of choices for that. Laugh. There's a new thing called laugh yoga, which I actually haven't taken, but just laugh, get something really silly. If you've got, there are lots of YouTube videos that are free you can watch, find the humor in the little things, right? It's easy to look at the negativity, but really focus on the laughing, on the upbeat part of it. Keeping a gratitude journal is a great way to do that as well. So if you have other pieces as I'm walking through these, let me know. I'm going to keep going so that we can leave some time for questions and answers. Relationships, I included both others and with self. And I changed this. I know I said friends and family before. A lot of relationships have changed during the pandemic. I know for me, they have. I've gained friends. I've shifted relationships with friends. So I said reconnect with loved ones. And they could be friends or family or not. Maybe you're building new relationships through new activities: gyms, book clubs, volunteer opportunities, maybe kids activities, PTO, sports. Taking time for stillness and meditation, even if it's just being quiet, turning off the TV, turning off your phone, turning off all the input that we normally get, and just be still. This is one of my favorite ones. Look someone in the eye and ask how they're doing. How are you doing? Not just hey, how's it going? But really, how are you doing? And how can I support you? Sometimes it's tears, sometimes it's laughter, sometimes it's a walk, right? I've been in all of those different emotions over the last 18 months and continue to be. Schedule a date for you and someone special. Could be a significant other, could be anybody, right? A kid, a grandparent, anybody. But schedule a date to make some special time together, right? And just slow down, refill your cup. Make a list about things you love about yourself and post it where you can easily see it. So it might be on your bathroom mirror as you're brushing your teeth. It could be on your refrigerator. It could be outside your computer. Maybe as a sticky note in your car if you're starting to travel a little bit more. But focus on the things that we love about ourselves. It's so easy, oh, my hair didn't come out today, da 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 da. Just focus on the things that you love about yourself. And then finally, environment, right? Take a digital break. Turn off the notifications, your ringer on your phone, reduce your news intake. I mentioned this earlier. I rarely watch the news. I never watch it in the morning. I just took off my social media off my phone 4 days ago, and it's made a huge difference. I don't need to know all of that chatter stuff all the time. And now I have time to sit and read, or I have time for meditation, or I have time to go for a walk. So try that, right? I also, my other trick is to modify my notifications, like the pinging part for people that I know. So my husband has one sound, my kids have a different sound, my mom's got a different sound, right? So I know who's coming in, or otherwise I just turn them off. Declutter a space in your home or office. First day the kids went back to school, I spent the whole day cleaning my office, full trash bag full of stuff and clutter. That allows you to recharge your batteries also, right? Because now I can find things. I can find my colored pencils. I can find the files that I need. Paint a room, hang a new picture, rearrange your furniture. Sometimes it just needs to fluff up a little bit, right? Plant a garden. Somebody mentioned that earlier. Plan to get away from your home. I know it's hard to do. We generally take really good vacations in the summer, 2, 3, 4 weeks. This week we had 2 nights. This summer we had 2 nights away. 2 nights. Last summer, nothing, right? So I know it's hard to do. I know that, the numbers are creeping up again, but is there a way that you can find a way to just get out somewhere? It doesn't have to be for a whole day. Yeah, one of the attendees just said, Jen said, leaving Facebook a few years ago was one of the best things I ever did for myself. Yeah, absolutely. Get outside, walk on the beach. We talked about the grounding piece, sitting in the sun, hiking in the mountains, feel the sun on your face, right? Feel the raindrops on your face or your skin if it's raining. Just be really present and mindful. And finally, I'm going to just give it one ending poll, right? Given what you know now, will you make time to slow down by implementing one or more of these tips today? So definitely I'll try, probably not. I think I saw a comment fly by about not doing enough strategies. Let's see. Struggle with feeling like the amount of self-care activities I'm adding is never enough. It's all stuff I'd rather be doing. What are some strategies to be happy with the time you're able to dedicate to these activities? Yeah, great question. I would say keep a gratitude journal, like note down at the end of the day, like, hey, I got time to do this today for me. It never feels like enough time. Do I ever spend enough time at the beach? No. Do I ever spend enough time doing the stuff that I want with my kids? No. But can you be grateful for the time that you are able to do that and to be able to just enjoy the time that you do have. So Jeff, do you have the results of that poll? Definitely, yay! And I'll try. It's good. Probably not. So hopefully, probably not is not the person that just said they weren't doing it at the beginning. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to open it up from here. In terms of next steps, I'm just going to invite you to a couple of things while you're thinking about those questions to add in. Choose one or just one self-care tip to begin to implement today. It's one thing you can do for you today. I know, yeah, you're busy, you've got scheduled, all that great stuff. Just one thing. Can you take a couple of deep breaths? Can you go for a walk for 5 minutes? Can you eat your lunch away from your desk? I invite you to download my free ebook. It's on slowing down to get ahead. If you haven't watched my webinar from last year, I encourage you to do that too. But this link is still active to download my free ebook. It's just a few pages, it has lots of pictures, not a lot of words. It's pretty easy. I invite you to connect with me on LinkedIn. I think I saw somebody to mention that you're part of this webinar, so I know it's not spam. I'm pretty open to accepting most invites, but I like the personal note. Just say that you were here today, and connect with me on LinkedIn. So here's all my contact information. My email address, my website, which is under construction. It's going to be ready very soon. I was hoping for today, and my LinkedIn piece here. So again, self-care accountability group coming up next week. If you want to learn more about it, send me a quick email, and happy to answer any questions that you might have. I hope this was useful use of time, helpful use of time, productive use of time. I don't know how to say that, but thank you.
It's always useful and productive, Kim. Your presentations for us have just been fantastic, and thank you so much for doing this. Again, we've got a few minutes left here, folks, so please feel free to chime in with your questions for Kim. Susan's asking about whether or not the webinar will be recorded. Yes, we're recording this. I'll share it with everybody in a follow-up email along with a PDF copy of the slides. Kim, we had somebody who privately shared something with just you and me in the chat here. And I'm just going to basically rephrase this question. What was a statement and not a question? In your experience as a coach, and particularly, with your sort of mindfulness side, where do you personally, when you're working with clients, kind of draw the line between self-care and maybe a need for more kinds of care like therapy, mental health work, those sorts of things. Obviously, this has been a traumatic year for a lot of people. We've had people share that they've lost positions. People have certainly lost family members. We've got somebody in Houston today that's getting hit by yet another hurricane. How do you know, and when do you tell your clients it's time to maybe seek some additional help?
Yeah, I'm really clear with that up front. And honestly, a lot of my clients come to me already having that support. So I often work with my client's therapist, collaboratively to, make sure that we're kind of on the same page. But if that's help that you need, and you don't have it already, then I absolutely have a network of people that I, refer people out to. And this goes back to my time at BU. I made a really conscious decision to do, not to do mental health counseling, but to do more career related pieces. So it's hard. The world is tough. And I honestly, this fall, I've been in business since 2008. So I'm in my 13th year. This is the first year that I've had clients come to me and say, really thought my career was the issue, but I need to take some time off and focus on my mental health before I can focus on my career. So I have a bunch of clients, a handful of them right now that are sort of on hiatus. And I'm working with them on a more, a less career related piece. And part of that's the self-care group, right? And that's part of how this webinar that's spun out. So you can find one thing to do for you every day, then I can't guarantee it's going to help you feel better. And some people will need more help than that. I'm not going to minimize that. But start to keep a gratitude journal. That always makes me feel better at the end of the day. Like, oh, I feel like I had a yucky day. Oh, but I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do this. And I had fun with all these things, right? And tomorrow's a new day.
And all the suggestions that you've shared today, just every day, take 10 minutes, try something new, try something different, the gratitude journal. These are all tips for like just getting started, right? And so Jennifer's asking in the chat, Jennifer, I'm gonna rephrase your question a little bit here. Does any of your advice change between work and personal lives? Jennifer specifically asking, just like, if you're burnt out at work, what are the first steps you would recommend that she take to kind of get out of that? Is anything different from what you've already shared today?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's a lot of spillover, right? And we spend a lot of time at work, so it's hard to separate those two pieces out. I know you and I talked about this, Jeff, in terms of how to do this, right? When I presented this, you're like, can it be work related? Like everything's work related because we spend so much time there. So if you can help yourself personally, then that's going to flow into your work life, right? You're going to be able to manage that a little bit better. If work is really driving you crazy, then can you implement some small things, right? Start to set some boundaries around what you accept for extra responsibilities. I have a good friend and colleague who just decided that she had too much on her plate. So she pulled out of some of the committees she was on. She redirected the energy she was spending. Sometimes it's getting, blocking lunch, right? How many of us, those of us on the East Coast right now block something during lunchtime. So I hope you're eating well, but I'm not eating right now. So how do I work that in and book some time that I can still take care of myself and not miss this meal and go to the next one. So some of it's just being planful and deliberate. If you've got a calendar system that you've got, just plunk some stuff in there so that that this is your time and make that a priority. Did that answer your question?
Well, we'll ask Jennifer to see if she feels like the question was answered. I think it makes a lot of sense. While we do that, Low Lake, I'm so sorry if I'm saying your name incorrectly. What do you recommend your clients do if they just are feeling like the culture at their workplace just isn't going to allow for these kinds of things? And I know you just talked about how if you can do it in your personal life, it's going to bleed over. But I guess at what point when you're working with your clients, can you recommend that they just kind of have to make a decision about whether or not they're in the right fit at the right organization, right?
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say, right? So part of that's an evaluation of what's working, what's not working. And sometimes we get stuck in a job that works and sometimes we don't, right? And sometimes we think like, well, it's okay for now, but things have shifted in the last 18 months, right? I know Jeff and I have talked about, how do you want to commute anymore? And how do you spend time with your family? And all of those things have shifted in the last 18 months. So I have a client actually recently who came to me probably about 3 months ago, and she said, Kim, I can't stand working for this company anymore. There's no way I can do this. I've got to get out of here. And she starts a job tomorrow in the same company. She just shifted roles. So sometimes it's just a different department. She never thought she would do that. Sometimes it's a culture thing, right? And I know that there's a lot of fear in terms of, if I've got something that works and it works for my family, the devil I know is better than the devil I don't. But sometimes it's worth it to yourself. I'll have a call, I'm happy to have a conversation with you and point out some other areas, but I always feel like there's an option. I have lots of people. I probably have more clients that have made the right career move in the last 18 months than I did in the last 10 years before that, right? I think people are more mindfully thinking about what they really want to do. Why are they here? What are their gifts to be able to give back? So I would really encourage you to think about that. If the culture is not right for you, I've worked in lots of places. Jeff, maybe you've worked places too. I wouldn't go back to those cultures again. They work for some people, right? But they may not work for you. So that's okay. And it's, we change over time. So to reevaluate and be mindful of where you're at is really important ongoing process, not a once and done kind of thing.
Well, Kim, we're running up against the hour here. We've had a number of people. I hope you've seen the people that have been weighing in the chat just with their thanks. And, Peggy, thank you for a good presentation. All good ideas, all tips rolled into one presentation. So Kim, you have done so much for the BU community over the years that I've known you. And I have to say, I just, your content is always good. Your presentation style, I really appreciate, probably even more so, just how relaxed and how willing you are to share with people is really, it's quite something. So for everything that you've ever done for us, but particularly for today, thank you so much.
You are very welcome. And I will just share a little, I sent Jeff my presentation this morning, and I actually sent him last year's, and he was like, oh, Kim, this is a little similar. So I'm glad it was enough different from last year. I would encourage you to go back and listen to the other one and whatever else. I know there's a whole piece of, a whole bunch of them that I've recorded over the years. So thank you for the opportunity to share my message. And again, if anybody has any questions or comments they want to ask offline, feel free to reach out to me. If any of the things I talked about resonate with you, more than happy to have a conversation. So whether you're live or listening to the recording, and I know I've done this too, I listen to the recording and fast forward it because I talk pretty fast, but you might be able to get it done shorter than an hour next time. So thank you, Jeff. I appreciate your support.
No, thanks. I'll go to you. I did, Kim, actually share earlier in the chat here. If people want to scroll back a little bit, the link is available for your last presentation you did for us, Slow Down to Get Ahead. You can watch it online now. As I mentioned, I will share today's presentation with everybody in an email probably tomorrow. Hopefully I can get to it tomorrow. Couple last things from me. I'm also putting in the chat right now. Hopefully that links. Oh, it's not linking. Alumni Weekend is coming up for Boston University from September 29th to October 3rd. We are actually incredibly excited to be welcoming hundreds, maybe over 1,000 alumni back to campus for some in-person events. So for those of you who are really tired of seeing my face on Zoom, come back to campus for Alumni Weekend, and I'd love to shake your hand and I'll give you an elbow bump in person. No more handshaking for now. So that's coming up. The other thing I just want to leave you all with, some folks are talking about making connections in LinkedIn today. I want to make sure that you all know that you are invited. In fact, I'm pleading with you to join BU Connects. This is our brand, well, it's not brand new, it's a year old now, our new online networking and mentoring platform. This makes it easier than ever to find somebody within the university community who has raised their hand and said that they're willing to help in a number of ways. If it's taking a look at your resume, if it's just networking, if it's doing a informational interview, if it's doing job shadowing, you can very easily find folks either for a one-time connection or a long-term mentoring relationship. No matter how old you are. I'm 46 years old. I'm still looking for a mentor. Kim has played that role for me in a lot of ways already. But go to buconnects.com. You can sign up and in minutes be up and networking. My pro tip for you is to sign in using your LinkedIn credentials. That's going to allow you to get in super fast. move all of your LinkedIn profile data over and just populate your BU Connects profile. We have nearly 40 special interest and industry and special interest networking groups that you can be a part of to meet more people in your industry, those kinds of things. Again, sign up today, buconnects.com. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'd be happy to answer those. Kim, thanks again for another great presentation. It was great to see you again.
You're very welcome. Good to see you too. And I'm on BU Connects, and I would happily connect with anybody there. It's a great resource.
Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in today. I hope you have a great evening or great day or great evening, wherever you might be around the world. Take care.
Thanks.